All right, what's going on, guys? So today we're going to go ahead and cover the RSX EP3 EM2 K-swap intercooler piping kit. We're going to go over some of the details and some of the things that you need to be aware of in order for this kit to work properly for your car. So please, if you're interested in this kit, watch the video. I'm going to show some of the tips and tricks that you're going to need to know in order to get this properly on. All right, so here we have the 2.5 inch. Now, I do mind this. I do offer this on a 3-inch. So we're going to go over between both of them and what will work and what will not work. So the very first thing is, in order to get this kit properly fitting on your car, you need to have our intercooler brackets. Okay, we offer this, and we also offer with the crash bar. Now, with the crash bar, the 3-inch will not work, and I will show you outside here when we go outside why it won't exactly work. It is a very massive kit, but here in front of us we have the 2.5. So you need to have the intercooler brackets, or you need to mount the intercooler exactly like how we're doing it. Otherwise, you're gonna have fitment issues, and which that has run in the past with people. And I try to tell them all the time: make sure you buy everything with what we offer. Otherwise, you need to modify it. And what I mean about that, if you don't have the RBC and you don't have our turbo manifold, it will throw off the kit just a little bit. Everybody's manifold is slightly a little bit different, and that's just kind of how the game kind of goes. So do keep that in mind. If you don't have an RBC, you don't have our brackets, and you don't have our turbo manifold, it will have a little bit of fitment issues, and you will need to modify them within yourself. So, but for the most part, everything will work just fine if you have our stuff. So the intercooler that will work for this 2.5 intercooler piping is going to be the 600 to 800 horsepower intercooler. Now, we have made 684 horsepower with this exact setup on my RSX without issues. Okay, that's without couplers climb off. We made this very easy and very efficient, so you can, if you were to have an issue, you're gonna see how easy it is to get to the couplers. I don't like to make this complicated. I have done stuff in the past that's very complicated, and by far this is the best you're gonna get here. Moving on, we're gonna go ahead and move on to this. It's gonna be your intake temp sensor. Now, I will have there the option on the website that you can add it. Now, I know most people will have it, and it's gonna be coming from K-Tune. Let me go ahead and take this off. Might be stuck here. I might have to need a device. So let me go ahead and take this off, and there we go. So I got it open, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you how this will work. So it's a 3-piece design, and what is this meant for? It's gonna be for your intake temp sensor, which is gonna be this one right here. You can see how the sensor looks. Go ahead and take it off. Don't mind, it's broken, but all right. So in order to get this to fit properly, you're gonna put your O-ring here, and again, I will have the option there on the website. You can buy this, or I know most of you guys will probably have it if you have like a aftermarket intake temp sensor, and I'll show you exactly where it's gonna go. So in order to get this fit properly, it's gonna be the same thing for mine or the K-Tune one. You're gonna need to trim this fins right here. You can see there. I'm just gonna skip it over. Well, let me see if I can get here. Put that in there. You can see here. And you have to trim it very good. Okay, so you can see how it works. So what it does, you go over with that one, and you go over with this. Okay, bam, tie it down, and that's gonna be for your intake temp sensor, and that's gonna be the one here with the blowoff flange. And where is it gonna go? And exactly what you need to do is you need to put some Teflon tape. Okay, and you need to, because if you do pressurize the system, you're gonna have a leak. So you want to put some some Teflon tape right there. And what you do, very simple. Okay, so you go ahead and thread it on. Make sure you put Teflon tape. I cannot stress this enough. If you do a pressure test, it's gonna leak from here if you don't have Teflon tape on there. Okay, so that will go right there. Very, very simple. But it's very critical. If you do not trim those little fins, you are going to have issues of fitting that. And that's very important to have for your RSX, pretty much all the K-series. If you don't not have an intake temp sensor, it will throw you the check engine light, and the whole car will just act up crazy. It will, just doesn't want to work at all. So make sure you have that on. So very simple. It will have the option there on the website. make sure you have our intercooler brackets, or if not, make sure you put that right in the center. Now, I don't know if I've covered here. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So the intercooler that will work, again, it's going to be the 600 to 800, and that's going to be our intercooler. PLM makes the same one, and I know Speed Factory makes the same one as well. So make sure you get those exact brand. If you do get a different brand, cannot guarantee you if it's going to work or not. That's the ones we have tested, and they have worked absolutely fine. So keep that in mind. That's going to be what it's for. Now, you can make obviously less than 6 to 800. It is meant for that horsepower, and that is going to be the max that you want to go ahead and push that on that intercooler. Otherwise, you're going to start to heat soak it. And what I mean by that is it's going to be so much air traveling through that. It's going to actually heat the freaking engine up with so much hot air going through, because the intercooler is not able to cool it down. All right, so moving on, we're going to go ahead and show you what it will come with as well. So it's going to be 4 aluminum pipes, okay? You can see here, very simple. It's going to come with the intercooler couplers. So we're going to have 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. Now, there's one that is slightly a little bit different, and that's going to be for the throttle body. And you're going to see here, hopefully the camera's able to pick it up. Yeah, you can see it there. So this one right here, the other ones are going to be completely flat, and that's going to go onto the intercooler pipings, to the turbo. So you can see here. Now, this coupler, okay, you can see it. This coupler is going to go through the throttle body, and this is meant for the stock throttle body. And I get it. This is what's going to come into an issue to please everybody. And I'm hoping later on, maybe you'll see this option there on the website to choose what size throttle body you have. Okay. As of right now, this is going to go with the stock one. If you see there on the website, that means I already got all the couplers. It is near impossible to get all of them because there's so many sizes. There's a 64, 72, 77, I believe, 80, 82, and a 90 mil. So think about it, having all those couplers is going to be very tough. But that is one of my goals later on, is to offer it directly to what size coupler, what size throttle body you have. So do keep that in mind. As of right now, it will come for the stock size throttle body, okay? So worst case scenario, if you have a different aftermarket throttle body, okay, you need to get one that's going to be 2.5 inches to whatever size that throttle body you have. Remember, our intercooler piping here is 2.5 to whatever size throttle body you have. I don't know why people seem to have an issue with that. It's like, I don't understand how that's the intercooler piping is 2.5 to whatever size you have. I don't know why. I had issue with people don't understanding that quite often. So, and then the same thing is going to be for the 3-inch. So the 3-inch will be 3-inch to whatever size throttle body you have. So we're doing the same thing for it as well. And I'll show you that outside when we go there to show you exactly how it looks. Now, talking about the 3-inch intercooler piping, that one, I wouldn't recommend it for your average person unless you're going to be making. I honestly don't recommend it unless you're going to make it over 800. You're really going to complicate everything. Just if you're looking to make under, I would say keep it safety under 750 for this setup. This is going to work amazing. You don't want to go with a 3-inch. It's just going to make everything so tight. That is really not recommended if you're not going to go for that amount of horsepower. And what I mean about that is, the bigger you go, the more air needs to travel through those pipes, and the laggier it will get. Now, if you make the power, it's fine. But if you're not making that power, it's just going to be bad for you. Let's say you having 500 horsepower and you have the 3-inch intercooler piping. That's terrible. Because what it does is when you want to floor it, it will give you that lag. Instead of with it having a smaller setup, you're going to have that lighter and faster spool. You see what I mean? What I'm saying about that? It's just you don't want to overkill the setup if you don't actually need it. Okay, so that is very critical, and it seems like a lot of people overdo it sometimes, and just don't if you're not gonna go for that power. Okay, so that is something that I highly recommend. All right, so the one with 1,000, let me see if I can find one of the intercoolers here, and I'm gonna show you the difference between both of them, which is absolutely massive. So I'm gonna go ahead and put one here and show you how that actually looks. So here we have the 1,000 horsepower intercooler. You can see the absolutely massive difference here. Now, We're gonna go ahead and cover the one for 3-inch, and it's very simple and same concept. So the one that is gonna work here is gonna be the same thing. It's gonna be our intercooler, the 3-inch one. I mean, for the 3-inch piping, you will work with the PLM, the Speed Factory, and our intercooler. If you get a different brand, I cannot guarantee if it'll work. We have not tested it. I get that question all the time. Will you think this intercooler work? If it was up there on the website, I will know. Otherwise, I cannot tell you if it will or it will not. Obviously, I have not tested that. Okay, so talking about the 1,000 horsepower, it is very massive. It will not work with the 2.5-inch to the 1,000 horsepower intercooler. So that setup is for that. That 1,000 horsepower is obviously for the 3-inch. It will not work if you have our crash bar, okay? Because you're gonna see here, the pipes actually go through here, and it's very massive. We have tried to make it work, but it's just impossible to make it work with the crash bar. So it will only work with our intercooler brackets. It keeps everything here low and tight. Now we're gonna go ahead and show you how that looks, and it's gonna be the same layout for the 2.5-inch, as in like everything routed, and the same concept. If you don't have an RBC manifold, and if you don't have our turbo manifold, the fitment will be off. I cannot guarantee you that it will be the same, because again, we made this and we jigged everything to fit our own, our own manifold, our own intercooler brackets, our own intercooler, which will work with other brands as well, like I have listed. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you on the car how it looks. I have the 3-inch one right now on the car, and then we're gonna go ahead and install the 2.5 after, so you can see how that will look as well, and just to go over some of the questions that you might have as well. And talking about this, you will need to trim some of the parts on your car, and I will show you. It is very, on the 2.5, it's very minimum. On the 3-inch, it does require a lot trimming, and you got to keep this in mind, which I tell everybody all the time. You got to keep this in mind. These cars were not designed to be turbo. I don't know why people don't seem to quite understand that part. These cars didn't come turbo, so it's not like we have a stage 1, stage 2, which everything just fits on. That's not the case with these cars. You have to understand that modifying it and to get this to work is required. You have to. It's just this part of the game when it comes to this kind of cars. None of this was meant to be on these cars. This has all been us modifying it, trying to make it easier for you guys, even though making it cheap with the intercooler brackets, making it with the crash bar, making it all of this work. And I'm sorry here, I'm running talking so much, but that is just some of the things, some of the guys get it. They're like, oh, I didn't know I needed to trim. And it's like, you didn't really watch the video. I have a lot of pictures there as well. So do keep that in mind. You have to understand that you're modifying something that was never designed to even be there within the car. So anyways, enough of it. We're going to go outside. All right, here we go, guys. So this is my 684 horsepower RSX. Now you will see a slight little different, and we're running a Gato manifold. Now again, if you have a different manifold, you will need to make modifications. So obviously we make our kits, we had to modify it in order to work. That means all our kits go through our jig, and then if you need to modify it, then we had to modify it. So you can see here how it looks, and then obviously you can see here our intake temp sensor, which exactly what I was talking about, which is right there. So do make sure you put that. I cannot stress that enough. Now we will not make any modifications to the kit that we already sell. That will have to be within yourself in order to get it to fit if you have a different manifold that is not an RBC. We get that question all the time. People have the Skunk 2 and off other different brands. So that is going to be something that you will need to modify, which will just be this section. It is not that critical, or it might just work just fine. Okay, but you can see here we have our turbo manifold, and then obviously fitting to the Pulsar turbo, and then we have our intercooler there. I don't think you'll be able to see it here, but you can see it there. And then we got the, now one thing I forgot to mention is this piping will not work with fog lights. Is it possible that you could probably get it to work? possible, but I'm not gonna go ahead and say that it will when we have tested it and it is beyond tight, and that I'm not gonna say that it works, and then you know, you guys have fitment issues when we know that it's a very tight fitment. So we'd rather say no, it does not work, instead of you know, go ahead and trimming the whole headlight, I mean the whole fog light off. So on my car, I don't have any fog lights, so do keep that in mind. That is something that I did miss there. So does not work with fog lights. We're just gonna leave it like that. It's a possible that you could probably get it to work, maybe, but we're not gonna go ahead and say that it does. So again, this is my 684, same setup that you guys have. This is just a titanium intercooler piping that we gonna offer. We had some in the previous, but we all sold out. So if you see them on the website, that means they're back on available. So we're gonna go ahead and come here and show you mock-up, and this is the one that I use instead of taking the other one apart. So we're gonna go ahead and cover, and you can see here we have our turbo manifold, we have our up pipes, and then we have our 3-inch intercooler piping. Again, the 3-inch intercooler piping will not work with our crash bar, okay? Keep that in mind. We sell a lot of the crash bars, so if you're gonna run a 3-inch, you're gonna need to buy our brackets, as you can see here. Now we're gonna go ahead and cover some of the questions that you might see here. So we have 2 blow-off valves, and that is a thing that we were going back and forth. We wanted to place the blow-off valve here. A lot of guys were, we don't want it there, we don't want it there. So all the blow-off valves are gonna be right here as you see it. So do ignore that. That was one of our very first jigs that we did, and we were trying to get some feedbacks from the guys, and it seems like nobody was happy. So again, the blow-off valves are all going to be here, and that is going to be the same thing for the ones that are 2.5-inch piping, okay? Same spot right there. No, it does not touch it. You guys can see here, it aims right over here to this side, so you don't have to worry about it hitting there. All right, so we're going to go ahead. You can see the RBC, and then we're going to go ahead and show you what you need to do and actually to get the 3-inch piping to fit, some of the trimming that is required, okay? And then I will say for the 2.5, I will do the same trimming, just so you can just not have anything touching, you just to avoid it. Now we have tested this on a 255, and they have clear, and that's pretty much the biggest tire really you can fit on RSX. I know most of the guys do a 245, so keep that in mind. We have tested it with a 255, and that is a massive tire on the RSX. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and show you what you need to trim. I'm about to take this thing off my chest here because I have it here. So bear with me. So go ahead and take this off. All right, here we go. Now you guys can see a little bit. So you can see here, if you have the crash bar, it will not work. It will fit right there. So you're gonna need to trim this little section right there. So you can see here, it still hits right there. So you're gonna need to trim that, okay? Straight down flush, okay? And then you also gonna need to trim pretty much this whole section here. So you can see there where it starts, okay, boom. And you're gonna go all the way flat, okay? All the way. You wanna bring this all the way flat, and then flat all the way here too. See it there, all right? So completely flat. And I will say to maybe trim some of this right here, and this is gonna be for the 3-inch piping, more of it. So for the 2.5, I would just do bam, bam, the L. I would trim that little section right here. I don't know if you guys can see it, the one we first talked about, the one right here, okay? And then for the 3-inch piping, I will do all of that, plus I will trim right here, okay, because the piping does hit here a little bit, okay? And this is some of the things I'm telling you guys, because I don't want to hear later on, oh, I wasn't aware I needed to trim with this. I'm letting you know now. You got to remember 3-inch piping to fit through here. It was not easy to get this to work, and definitely make a jig and get this all to fit properly. So again, for the 2.5, trim that, trim this. The 3-inch, I will just trim this little section, all this right here, okay? Get it to fit. It's not gonna ruin any of the structure there. That is impossible, okay? All right, so, and then that's about it for the 3-inch. Then you're gonna have to clock your turbo just right. As you can see here, your turbo does move. I know some people like to pull the turbo like that. I don't know exactly why. So we're gonna go ahead and put the last pipe and show you how that looks. And then after, I'm gonna go ahead and swap the intercooler, swap the piping, and put the 2.5 inches so you guys can see how much more of a clearance you actually have. And I'm not trying to make this video extremely long. I know it's getting long, but I just need to cover, you know, a lot of this topic, some of these questions that I get all the time. And that way, if you are buying this, you can be like, okay, this is great for my setup. You know, you cover all the questions that I have. So do keep that in mind. So let's say you have a different RBC, you have a different manifold and a different manifold. So worst case, you know, you're gonna need to trim it here, get it to fit properly. Same thing, trim it here, get it to fit properly. But you gotta remember, all the hard work is already done. So if somebody were to modify that for you, it's gonna be very cheap versus, you know, making one from scratch. It's gonna cost you a lot of money. So that's why a lot of guys buy them, even though they have different, you know, manifold and manifold on the back as well, because they know it is a lot cheaper to modify just the ends here than you know, making one completely from scratch. So I'll go ahead and put the last piping, and then we'll do the 2.5. I'm not trying to make this extremely long, but I want to be able to cover as much as I can. Okay, and obviously, you know, you're gonna have to relocate the battery. That is not a question that should even be asked. Okay, so here we go, guys. So you guys can see it. Mind this is on a K24 setup, so it is gonna be a slightly little bit taller. So again, the trimming will still be required, and this is what I'm talking about. As you can see here, if you guys gonna see, you can see where the pipe touch. So this is what I'm talking about. You're gonna need to trim, boop, right there. All right, so this is gonna be for the 3-inch piping. So we're gonna go ahead and show you the 2.5, how it looks, but this is gonna be how the 3-inch is gonna look. I love it. It looks great. So again, keep in mind, you have to clock your turbo. You know, you can see in here how it actually looks. And this is what I'm talking about. If you have a different manifold, they can be further back or further forward. It is a never-ending situation that will not work for anybody. So it is a difficult task to please everybody with that. But you can see it here. Now, again, you're gonna need to trim your bumper. That is something that I shouldn't even need to say. On my card, it is very massively trim, and that is just gonna be the game of it. Like I said in the beginning, you gotta keep in mind, this stuff was not meant to be in here whatsoever, and we're modifying it for us to make power, obviously. So we're gonna go ahead and throw the 2.5 and show you exactly how that's gonna be looking. But you can see here, the 3-inch, it is massively overkill if you're not gonna be making over 800 plus. Okay, all right, here we go, guys. We have the 2.5 fully mounted, and you're gonna see how much smaller it actually is. And I actually love it. It seems, and I'm gonna say this, it seems for the 0506, there's really not a lot of trimming, and as well, it looks like your fog lights are gonna clear. And I'm gonna say this only for the 0506, because you can see here, one of the pipe goes right above the fog light cover, and the other one goes right underneath. It's been a few months since we've done this, so we had to get all the jigs set up. But we only tested it with the 02 to 04, and it needs a massive amount of trimming. And this is what I'm talking about. You can see here. So I had to trim all of that inside and some of the fog light as well up to here in order to get everything to fit properly. But it seems like the one that is 0506 don't seem like it needs any trimming, and I hate to say that because you might need some, but as you can see in here, it actually fits great. So see here, blow-off valve will go there, and that is going to be for a tile blow-off valve. If you have a different one, it will not work. So overall, I'm very happy. So the top pipe goes here, goes right onto your throttle body. The bottom one goes there, and obviously the bottom of your intercooler. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the bumper off and show you how that looks so you can get a better look. So when you do go ahead and mock it up on your car, you know that it will, you can see how it will fit. So I don't have questions which pipe goes to what. But I mean, overall, I'm very happy. You can see here, and then the bottom pipe, we actually bend it in order to get it away from the tire. As you can see there. So we're gonna go ahead and take the bumper off and show you how that looks, so you get a final look, and then that way you can see how do you need to get it all properly mocked up. There we go. So now I had to bend this up like this in order to get the fog light to fit on that 0506, but it really meant to be here at the bottom, just like that. So if you do get the 0506, just know that you have to bend it up like that in order to clear the fog light, and it looked like it cleared perfectly. So so that seems amazing for the 0506. The 0204 does not fit so great. It does need a lot of trimming in order to get that to work properly. So you can see here we have, let me see if I can take this off, because this pipe, it is different from this one, and obviously I don't even think I need to take it off. You can clearly see it. So this one has the little bent, goes this way. That one goes right there, the one with the blowoff valve, and the other one, of course, and it goes here, and it kicks it right underneath the fog light for the 0506. So for the 0204, you will need to trim it quite a bit. But you can see it here. Hopefully this will cover all the questions and answers that you will have in order to get this installed on your RSX EP3 or EM2, that is K-swap, which I actually love. That. It's badass, by the way, anybody who does it. So yeah, so this is on the K24. So if you do have the K20, it's going to be sitting slightly a little bit shorter, so the pipes are gonna, go down just a bit more. You can see here it does have a lot of play, so you are good to go on that. So you should be clear to get everything mocked up on your car. So there you go, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Please, if you have any questions, reach out to me through email. It's gonna be the fastest way to get through me. But obviously this video should be helpful enough to get you going and get your RSX turbo and have some fun, man, because I promise you you're gonna enjoy it. So good luck, guys.